here's where I'm at with the Hurley situation. And I read your reporting, and you've made it clear that UConn made Dan Hurley an offer a little bit ago that would make him one of the highest paid coaches in college basketball. If there's not a problem with administration or something else, and it's say the money's there and he just hasn't signed it yet, that makes me think that he's off to LA and he's going to take the Lakers job. How about yourself?
I do think that if I was a betting man, and I'm not, but if I was voting on this, I would say that Dan Hurley is going to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Look at it this way. He has maxed out at the college level, right? He's done all that he can, short of John Wooden, which, Zach, I think UConn's preseason standing heading into next year, to be real with you, is based more on the past couple of seasons and giving them the benefit of the doubt than what they actually have. I don't think they're a national championship team next year. I think they're a great team. I just wouldn't put them. If I were to name 4 teams in the title tier, I'd probably look foolish, but I just think he looks at that writing. I think that he looks at Dan is wired differently. Mm-hmm. He is a different type of guy. You talk to anybody and they'll tell you that in a good way. But he wants the next challenge. I talk to people within, UConn's athletics community that are closely aligned with men's basketball that told me he's always thinking about the next thing. Well, for him, Zach, yeah, you want to run it back. I get it. But when the next thing could be the head coach of the LA Lakers writing a chapter in LeBron James, someday LeBron's Last Dance documentary is going to come out. Dan Hurley, you can't tell me he doesn't think about the allure of potentially being a part of that. And we could all say, we don't know if it fits. We don't know if it works. You think Dan Hurley's saying that to himself? No, he bets on himself. He's betting on himself that this is the right move. Can you say no and stomach saying no to 9 figures? I have it on good authority the Lakers are offering at least $100 million guaranteed to Dan Hurley. I mean, you're talking about at least $100 million. You're talking about LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Set them aside. Let's just say there's a world where they don't play. In fact, I think LeBron and AD not being on this upcoming year's Lakers team helps the Lakers long-term in terms of winning a championship. But that's neither here nor there. Whether LeBron or AD are part of the equation or not, Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka are going to constantly go for it. As my wife comes through as we do this paint job. We're live, honey. That's okay. That's all right. This is a situation where they're always going to be contending. They're always going to be contending at the top of the NBA in terms of their philosophy. All of these pros, because Zach, there's guarantees that other NBA teams might call Dan Hurley, but the Orlando Magic and the Indiana Pacers and the Cleveland Cavaliers don't have the same allure factor that the LA Lakers have. The same money, the same everything. If the worst thing happens and this doesn't work out, Zach Gelb, Hurley goes back to college and gets whatever job he wants.
Yeah. So here's the thing: if he doesn't take the job, because you have it on good authority, this is a $100 million offer. I already thought before I heard that. I thought maybe it was going to be a 6-year deal, $80 million. That's what I was kind of thinking. But
yeah, and maybe it's something like that with some incentives added to it. But it's in that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Like let's look at it that way. Yep.
But I thought he would take that and go to Lakers. If he doesn't take it, why wouldn't he be the next Lakers coach? Why would he say no to this?
Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka are in that meeting room right now. He and Andrea, his wife, are asking some questions. He's asking questions about how much control he would have. He's finding out if Bronny James is literally part of this deal, which I think is possible. I think that LeBron James is attracted to Dan Hurley and Luke Murray, Hurley's right-hand man, their ability to develop kids. Bronny James is a kid. I want to be as clear as possible. I hope it works out incredibly well. But the coverage around Bronny James, Zach, in my humble opinion, has been disgusting.
I agree.
It's disgusting. You have people that are inventing narratives and that are flat out lying and are setting very, very, very unfair expectations for an 18-year-old kid that are not right and not fair because he's LeBron James' son. Bronny James should be in college. He should be in an Atlantic 10 program, or maybe a Big East program. He should be playing at that around that level as a role guy on a team, getting better and better, and maybe getting a shot down the road.
He should have came back and transferred to Duquesne. That's what I thought with Drew Joyce III with that connection.
100%. This notion that he's going to appear in NBA games is not true. But the notion that he could be in the G League program with the South Bay Lakers, who practice in the same facility as the LA Lakers, UCLA Training and Health Center, that to me means LeBron wants someone to take care of his son. Is Danny okay with that? Is he okay with the package deal? This comes down to Danny's list of demands getting mostly met. I think he could sacrifice a couple of things, then pushing back on. But I think the narrative is LeBron has total control of the Lakers. And the narrative's fair because that's what's happened in the past with organizations. But are you willing, if you're Dan Hurley, are you willing to sacrifice, let's just say, 2 years of LeBron James if he has control of the organization per se? But you're told by the Lakers brass, you know what, you're still going to be the long-term option here. This is what you're going to be making, and you will have control. If he has some level of control, I think he takes it. If they come back and say to him, you're going to have no control, Dan, you're the head coach, we're paying you this, we'll tell you what to do, there's a world where I think you don't mess with Happy, a guy who's gone through some mental health battles. Like Dan's been very outspoken about that, where he says, you know what, I'm going to get UConn to increase my deal, or let's just throw it out there, 8-9 million, if not 10 million a year. I'll make incentives. I'm not going to mess with Happy. I'll go try to be John Wooden in college. Because that's what he thought about with college. He has a picture of John Wooden in his office. He wants to be college basketball's modern John Wooden. You could say that's crazy, but that's how this guy's wired.
John Fanta here with us. So let me ask you this, John. When you just go through, and I read your article, it was a great article, and you talked about how UConn made him an offer that would make him one of the highest paid coaches in college basketball. I could ask, why didn't he sign that? And you could easily say, okay, because this Lakers possibility is out there and this is legit, as we've seen. But is there something more to that? Like, is he happy with the money that they offered him? Is there a problem with the administration? Is there anything out there why he has not signed it other than, hey, this Lakers job ended up becoming available?
So this is the $1 million question. And I'm going to start my answer by saying, we really don't know the exact answer to the question.
Okay.
Because I have asked people around the situation, around the Hurley contract situation, people very close to it, some off-the-record questions. And, Zach, even their answers to me have been a bit blurry. To me, this is what my interpretation of the situation is. This is my interpretation. Hurley receives a contract offer from Connecticut after the season ends, shortly after their second straight national championship season ends. That offer is very lucrative, making Hurley one of the three or four was what I was told, highest paid coaches in college basketball. Now, there are people out there who instantly say, and I'm sure there's commenters right now who are saying, give him all the money in the world, make him number one. Zach, here is what UConn is battling. And there's two sides of this. One, they are a state school. The football program is drowning, right? They're in a very difficult spot. They don't have a conference. This is not Alabama football or Kentucky basketball.
Sure.
They're millions of dollars in debt already. This contract would add to the debt. You and I both know this. I know the casual sports fan would scoff at this, but when you have a state university, state employees in the state government, and you put out the details of this contract because it's freedom of information, this isn't some private school, that's going to make political things happen. That's going to cause some people to scoff and say, nobody's worth what they are putting on the table for him. That one, some of the politics at play, I think, have caused things to not get done with this deal, not get formalized. But based on what I know about what Hurley was offered, really no reason for him not to agree to it, to be candidly honest with you. So to me, him not agreeing to it inclines that maybe there's always been some light dialogue. And I think a key part of this, based on people that I talk with in the industry, is that at a certain point, a Lakers player or two or three, not named LeBron James, said, I like JJ Redick, but I don't know if I love this smartest guy in the room. I'm going to talk down. I'm going to talk at you. I know it all type thing. When I played against him and I get it, but I don't. I think that then caused Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss to reopen the door. And all of a sudden, when they started to ask again about Hurley, what was, he's mildly interested, became he's interested and he wants to talk.
And Woj is a big part of that. And I just wonder, I'm sure the Lakers reached out to Woj, said, is he interested? Or maybe some of the Lakers said, hey, you may want to check in with Danny Hurley because we've been talking to him because they wanted this story out there for whatever the reasons were. I think there's some level of truth, I would imagine, to that. And Woj is a big piece in that.
He is the piece in it. And I want to make this clear. I respect the heck out of Adrian Wojnarowski. He is the standard newsbreaker in sports. That's not a political statement by me. It's not to puff him up. Woj is the best at what he does. But I do quite literally think that the Lakers talk with Woj about any other candidates. Woj has a personal relationship with Dan Hurley, with his father, Bob Sr., and his brother, Bobby. Woj floated it to Dan and his people and got back, yeah, he's interested. So this is happening in real time right now. The money, the brand, all of that is real. One thing I would push back on, two things I would push back on, Zach. Okay. Number one, some of the reporting out there, this tells me that Woj is talking directly to Dan. If you've heard some of the reporting is that, UConn doesn't play in the Big Ten or SEC or Big 12. They're dealing with Big East, and the Big East doesn't have football dollars, and this revenue sharing and lack of football TV money, which very ironically, Zach, the Big East is squarely in TV renewal negotiations as we are talking, as this is also happening. And we both know UConn's brand matters in those negotiations. But this whole notion that there's not enough money, Connecticut's making more than enough money to happen for UConn to continue to be at the mountaintop. UConn's different than Villanova, Georgetown, St. John, Seton Hall, Providence. They're a state school that has big-time money that will commit to basketball. They just gave Gino Auriemma a max deal at his age, a huge deal. Let's face it, that was a massive deal. The other thing is this, this notion that Hurley would be leaving UConn, would be leaving the college game because of the volatility of college basketball, with all due respect, is a bunch of bull. There's nothing volatile in Storrs, Connecticut. College basketball is going through a chaotic time.
You don't think NIL and transfer portal plays a role in this?
I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't. I really don't. This is the Lakers. If the Cavaliers have an opening, if the Cavs called Dan Hurley, he would hang up the phone.
You're probably right.
So my point is, if that were the case, if your argument was the case, then he'd be going to the NBA regardless. And he's not. I think he would take 3 NBA coaching jobs: the Lakers, the Celtics, or the Knicks.
Yeah, you're probably right on that. I do think it's easier now, lifestyle, to be a pro coach than it is college. But, if the Cavs came calling, I don't think he's leaving. So last thing I'll ask you, as we're wrapping up with John Fanta. I'm at an 85% confidence that Hurley is taking this job. What number are you at right now that he's the next Lakers coach?
75%. The remaining 25, because of what I know with what UConn situationally can put together, if he's a little bit uncomfortable with LA. His dad is in Jersey City. His parents have lived in the same Jersey City home forever. Pops might have Bobby in Arizona State, but if you ask the family, Bob Sr.'s seeing Dan at UConn a heck of a lot more than he's going out to Tempe to see Bobby. Let's face it. Do they have enough money to move the family and do all that? Of course. Of course. But, you've got a son on Wall Street. Dan Jr. is a Seton Hall grad, works on Wall Street, works in New York City. You've got another son in Andrew who could follow you to the Lakers. This family's been attached to the Northeast for 5 decades, 6 decades. We're talking about a half century, the Hurleys have been attached to this part of the country where I'm talking to you now. That 25% just says, there's so many variables that plays with the Lakers that there could be more cons to Hurley's life and to his wife's life. That his wife says, Dan, we're going back to Connecticut. You're going for a three-peat. And we're not messing with Happy because of how much it took us to get there.
If he does leave, Kamani Young is the next coach. That would be my first guess.
That is my take. As somebody told me that's around stores that has some clout there in some of the decision making. All it takes is one. All it takes is one name to be interested on the outside for them to reconsider. But if you're not going to elevate somebody in the family now who's deserving, when are you ever going to do it? Number one. And two, all these other coaches have fielded their rosters. Like, people don't understand this. These players on these other teams, Alabama, Texas, Duke, Kentucky, Arkansas, they're on their campuses. They're going to class. They've enrolled. They're in practice. The 2024-25 season has started for these teams. We're not thinking about it, but all these teams, they're starting their road to March now. All these rosters have been built. The NIL cash is going to get distributed. So if you go and hire an outsider, who's available even to field a roster? And you don't want to lose. UConn is a top 10 roster on paper in college basketball right now. Do you want to lose pieces of that? But the other thing is, if those kids were to enter the transfer portal, Zach, which if Hurley leaves, they have 30 days to do so, where are they going? Right now in college basketball, once a kid commits, there are other kids on the team that see him commit, and they've been going elsewhere the last 2 months. They don't want to compete for a role. They want their cash. They want to know what their role is on the team. You got to keep that aligned if you're UConn. You built your roster. I only wonder what Alex Caravan's thinking right now because Hurley got him to come back. You elevate Kamani Young. That's what I think that they will do. Or Luke Murray if Kamani does not want it for some reason.
He is John Fanta. John, good luck on the move and good luck on the search with Dan Hurley because I know this is going to be a wild next few days. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Zach. Appreciate you.